The deadliest sniper of the Civil War wasn't a soldier, nor was he a celebrated hero. He was a Tennessee farmer, driven to the brink by an unspeakable atrocity that history sought to erase. While generals like Grant and Sherman captured the headlines, Jack Henson, a grieving father armed with a custom .50 caliber rifle, hunted Union troops with an accuracy that changed the nature of warfare. His rifle still bears the tally of over 100 kills, yet his name has been erased from historical records. Why? Because his story reveals a side of war that is rarely taught, a tale of vengeance, fear, and gunshots that resonated far beyond Appomattox. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to help grow our community. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Jack Henson was a wealthy landowner and slaveholder in Tennessee's Stewart County, residing in the Between the Rivers district near Dover. This region earned its name from its location between the Cumberland and Tennessee Rivers, roughly 100 miles west of Nashville. Today, the area known as Land Between the Lakes lies near the historic site of Henson's plantation. Later, the Tennessee Valley Authority built dams on both rivers, creating what are now Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley reservoirs. At the start of the Civil War, Henson maintained a neutral stance, focusing on preserving his agricultural livelihood at Bubbling Springs Plantation rather than taking sides politically. Being older and exempt from military service, he actively discouraged his sons from joining the fight, urging them instead to continue working the land. Despite this, one of his sons went against his wishes and enlisted in the Confederate Army. The Cumberland and Tennessee Rivers served as critical supply routes for both Union and Confederate forces during the Civil War. Recognizing their strategic importance, Washington dispatched General Ulysses S. Grant to the Western Theater with orders to secure these essential waterways. The Union initially established control over Paducah, Kentucky, before targeting two key Confederate strongholds, Fort Henry on the Tennessee River and Fort Donelson on the Cumberland River. Fort Donelson was located near Jack Hinson's Bubbling Springs estate, placing his property directly within the zone of military operations. While Fort Henry fell quickly to Union forces, the Battle of Fort Donelson evolved into a grueling three-day conflict marked by significant casualties, ultimately ending in a Union victory. This decisive engagement not only bolstered General Grant's reputation, but also marked the beginning of Confederate decline in the Western Theater. Despite the violence surrounding his estate, Hinson maintained his stance of neutrality, focusing on preserving his agricultural livelihood and family responsibilities under Union occupation. Federal troops stationed at Fort Donelson viewed Jack Hinson with quiet suspicion, but refrained from overt hostility toward the local landowner. However, the autumn following the fort's capture brought significant turmoil. Guerrilla raids, referred to as bushwhacking by Union forces, intensified near Dover, with Confederate irregulars launching small-scale ambushes against Federal patrols. As Union casualties grew, these covert attacks became more frequent, transforming bushwhackers into a major threat to Federal forces and forcing Hinson's fragile neutrality to unravel. The escalating violence prompted Union commanders to adopt a ruthless no-quarter policy, ordering soldiers to eliminate bushwhackers by any means necessary. One autumn morning, Jack's two sons, aged 17 and 21, set out on a hunting trip. During their outing, a Union patrol apprehended the brothers, accusing them of being guerrilla fighters and executing them on the spot without trial. To drive their point home, the soldiers decapitated the young men, brought their severed heads back to Bubbling Springs, and displayed them on the estate's gateposts as a gruesome warning. This horrific act inflicted profound trauma on the Hinson family, forever destroying their way of life. Despite the soldiers' brutal actions and the immense personal grief he endured, Jack Hinson outwardly maintained a semblance of normalcy at his plantation. Internally, however, he underwent a profound transformation, quietly formulating a plan for vengeance that would cement his reputation as one of the most feared sharpshooters in history. His considerable wealth enabled him to bring this plan to life. Hinson commissioned a master gunsmith to craft a custom 50 caliber muzzleloader, designed with state-of-the-art components and unmatched precision for its time. The resulting rifle was a weapon of extraordinary accuracy, tailored specifically to his needs. Though already adept with firearms, Jack invested countless hours in perfecting his skills with the new rifle, achieving an unparalleled level of expertise. At the same time, he conducted covert reconnaissance around Fort Donelson, carefully observing Union patrols and identifying the unit responsible for his son's deaths. He memorized their routines and movements with meticulous detail. His campaign began with the ambush and assassination of the officer who ordered his son's execution and the sergeant who carried out the atrocity. After these initial strikes, Hinson evaded capture and resumed his farming activities while systematically targeting high-ranking Union officers. He reasoned that eliminating leadership would deliver maximum strategic and psychological damage to enemy forces. As Jack Hinson's kill count rose, Union forces became increasingly suspicious of him and his family. The growing instability caused by guerrilla warfare in the region led Union commanders to implement harsh measures, including the arrest of suspected bushwhackers without evidence. This atmosphere of fear and retaliation marked the definitive collapse of Hinson's previous life, tying his legacy to a shadow war of vengeance that haunted both sides. The commander at Fort Donelson eventually sent troops to Bubbling Springs to apprehend Jack, a mission that would have resulted in his execution had it not been for a physician who intervened and negotiated clemency. Although temporarily spared, Hinson recognized his precarious situation and devised an escape plan to protect his family. Under the cover of night, he relocated them westward across the Tennessee River to a safe haven approximately 40 miles away. After ensuring their safety, Jack left them behind, knowing his presence could jeopardize their lives. This painful separation marked the tragic new reality for the Hinson family. Seeking isolation, Jack retreated to a ridge by the river that contained a modest cave, unaware that this secluded spot would become central to his wartime identity. Mounted on his loyal horse and armed with his custom 50 caliber rifle, Jack established a sparse existence in the grotto, with the weapon becoming synonymous with his relentless campaign of vengeance. After Jack Hinson and his family fled, Union forces, alerted to their departure, set fire to the Bubbling Springs Plantation. This act of destruction occurred despite the pleas of formerly enslaved individuals whom Jack had freed months before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. These individuals, entrusted with the management of the plantation, could only watch helplessly as soldiers reduced their home to ashes. When Jack secretly returned to survey the devastation, he was confronted with the undeniable obliteration of his former life. The smoldering ruins marked a turning point in Hinson's transformation from a neutral farmer to a relentless avenger. Meanwhile, the Tennessee River's natural bottleneck near his hideout, a narrow channel where swift currents flowed between an island and the shore, created a strategic choke point. This geographic feature would soon become a critical element in Hinson's campaign, as his cave provided both a secure refuge and an ideal vantage point for launching lethal attacks on Union vessels navigating the river. Jack Hinson's calculated campaign began, blending his deep familiarity with the terrain and unmatched marksmanship to pioneer a new era of asymmetric warfare. The treacherous stretch of river near his hideout became a perfect kill zone for a sharpshooter fueled by vengeance and armed with a precision-crafted rifle. Jack quickly realized that his exceptional shooting abilities, enhanced by the capabilities of his custom weapon, could wreak havoc far beyond anything he had imagined. His approach developed into a ritual. He would monitor the narrow channel until Union supply vessels entered the bottleneck. Using his telescopic sight, he would identify officers on deck and deliver deadly shots aimed at their brain or heart. His life became a cycle of violence, detached from the conventions of society. Though he occasionally made secret visits to his family, these brief moments of humanity were always followed by his return to the cave, both to evade Union manhunts and to shield his loved ones from potential harm. Local allies supported him by providing supplies, enabling Jack to sustain his lethal routines while remaining hidden. His existence revolved around this relentless pursuit of retribution, isolated from the world he had once known. Jack Hinson's guerrilla warfare took on an unsettling routine between ambushes, interrupted only by the news of Appomattox's surrender, signaling the end of the Civil War. Though the hostilities ceased, the psychological scars of his experiences remained. Historians credit Hinson with over 100 confirmed kills using primitive ballistics, securing his place as one of history's deadliest precision shooters. After the war, Hinson quietly reunited with his family near Danville, Tennessee, where he operated a grain mill and general store during the Reconstruction era. His later years were marked by relative calm, though he remained vigilant as Union veterans occasionally sought revenge against the ghost of the Cumberland, whose actions had devastated their ranks. Jack Hinson's .50 caliber muzzleloader, a weapon etched with grim tallies of his kills, remains preserved by his descendant, Judge Ben Hall McFarland, in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. This rifle, an emblem of asymmetric warfare, is occasionally displayed in museum exhibitions, where its notches silently recount the transformation of a grieving father into a feared sniper. Hinson passed away in 1905 in a quiet Tennessee town, far removed from the battlefields that defined his legacy. The rifle outlived him, its markings serving as a cipher to the personal war he waged within the larger conflict. Was Jack Hinson a hero, a monster, or simply a father who refused to let history silence his son's cries? The Union burned his home but could not extinguish his rage. While the Confederacy lost control of the West, Hinson's shadow continues to haunt its rivers. We celebrate Grant's victories, but who defines the rules when war merges with vengeance? When one man armed with grief and a .50 caliber bullet becomes an army's nightmare? The truth remains elusive. How many Union letters began with the words, "Dear Mother, today I met the ghost of the Cumberland"?